It was a ship of death. When Deborah Morris boarded the great steamboat Gallant on St. Louis on a day in June 1852, she'd heard vague rumors about there having been a cholera epidemic in the area. But she had no idea that it was still stubbornly continuing. The big side-wheeler, with its heavy contingent of passengers and its below decks loaded with cargo, had barely moved out onto the broad Mississippi before there was a first death among the passengers. The captain decided to bury the body at once in the hope of preventing further spread of the cholera on board. So the Gallant moved close to the shore, and a rowboat took the body away to be buried on the riverbank. There was little ceremony about it, and the passengers watching the macabre business from the deck of the boat were filled with an ominous sense of the presence of death aboard. Deborah, who was traveling alone on her way to Natchez, made friends with a couple from New Orleans. The man's name was Josiah Denby. He was a middle-aged lawyer with a hunchback, but his face was pleasant, and so was his manner. His wife was a motherly woman about his age, whose name was Sarah. When the first burial took place at twilight, Deborah watched it from the deck in the company of the hunchback lawyer and his wife. Josiah Denby's lined face showed an expression of alarm as he said, "I trust we shall have no more cases on board." His wife sighed. "The victim was only a slip of a girl traveling with her father and mother. How dreadful they must feel to have her buried in such haste and in this desolate spot." "The captain felt the risk of keeping the body on board too great," Josiah Denby told her. Deborah turned from watching the rowboat with its crew of two straining at the oars to say to the couple, "The important thing is to prevent any spread of the disease. We are trapped aboard for some time and in close contact." She was a beautiful young woman of 23. Her hair was blonde and her eyes large and a deep blue. At home, in distant Philadelphia, she and her sister had been considered lovely and had attracted more than usual attraction since they were identical twins. At the rowboat was made fast to the boat, and it began to churn on. They strolled aft to watch the river in the dying light. Many of those on deck had gone inside to listen to the orchestra, which was playing lively dance music in the big ballroom. This in sharp contrast to the burial which had just taken place. Deborah turned to Josiah Denby and said, "So you know something about Natchez, and you have heard of Ravenhurst?" The hunchback lawyer nodded. "My practice has occasionally taken me to Natchez, and I have heard of the Raven family and their plantation, but it has been several years, and I'm not too clear about what was said." "I'm sure Angus Raven must be a very wealthy man," Sarah Denby said, with a serious look on her round face. "A plantation the size of Ravenhurst would employ more than 100 slaves, and fine crops of cotton must be harvested there." "My sister Judith mentioned the slaves and the prosperous cotton crop," she said. "That was after she first went there as a bride. In the months before her accidental death, she didn't write at all. I was very concerned. Then I received the letter from Angus Raven informing me that she was dead." "How shocking for you," the stout Mrs. Denby said as they stood together in the growing dusk. Overhead a nightbird went by with a mournful cry. "It was," she agreed, "and my only other close relative, my Aunt Rachel, was ill at the time. She died soon after we received the letter. I think the tragic news hastened her end." "It well could have," Denby agreed. "Then you received a second letter?" his wife asked. "Yes," she said. "Angus Raven wrote a longer letter, though he still gave me no details of the accident which caused my sister's death. He merely said Simeon, her husband, was alive, but not well, and he strongly urged me to visit the plantation and take care of Judith's things and meet the family." Josiah Denby said, "She'd only lived at Ravenhurst for a year or so, hadn't she?" Deborah nodded.